Hi, my name is Grace Xue. I'm a communication specialist and news writer with OSU Extension Service. Today I'm with Dan Stark, our extension forester, and we're going to talk about sequoia and coastal redwood, two really giant trees today. So Dan, my first question is, so I'm not sure if sequoia or redwood are native plants, but are there any considerations before planting them anywhere in Oregon?
Yeah, and here's a fun fact. Coast redwood is actually native to Curry County in the southern part of Oregon. It is the northernmost part of its range, but anywhere else it's planted in Oregon is actually off-site. And that's the same for giant sequoia. Giant sequoia is only native to California, and it only occurs in 75 distinct groves in California. So everything else is an off-site planting.
I see. So how long do those trees live once they start planting?
They can be long-lived trees. We're talking like 3,000 years. They really are. They're giant and they have a giant lifespan.
Oh, wow. And then, so I know like those giant trees has giant roots on the ground. So when people are walking on the roots, is it safe for the tree? Like, is it hurting it?
Yeah, so these giant trees need a giant root structure to, keep them in the ground. And here's another fun fact. Both species actually don't have a taproot. They have these very long lateral roots right under the surface like you were talking about that people can walk on, then they're fine. They're well protected. Maybe if they were exposed, I wouldn't go stomp on them or anything like that, like any tree. I think we had on record that a lateral root can actually grow as far as 300 feet for a source of water.
Oh, wow. Dan, I'm curious, are those trees, sequoia and redwood, are vulnerable to pests or disease?
The short answer is yes. Even though a lot of people think that giant sequoia and redwood are disease and pest resistant, they are pretty much in their native range. But even in their native range, they could have health issues that they would succumb to a pest attack. Not so much like we would a pine perhaps here, but any tree that is planted off-site, so not within its native range, is a little bit more vulnerable and sometimes more vulnerable. If the wrong species on a wrong site, it's going to be open up for some health problems. So another impact for animals can sometimes be pests. So the squirrels and other animals will scale the bark and that kind of thing, and they could actually chew off branches and stuff like that. So even our animal pests can be problematic for these two species.
I see, that makes sense. So can you talk about what kind of animals or plants tend to grow near sequoia or redwood?
Sure. Well, in their native range, in California and southern Oregon for redwood, they grow within their own ecosystem, right? In their own types of plants that are associated in those type of coastal, foggy type conditions for coast redwood, more drier types, of course, and higher elevations for redwood. When they're planted off-site, they're planted in completely different areas where those plant associations might not be there. Just observationally, they are planted, in various places all around Oregon, and they seem to be, fitting in, at least for now, into those species here in Oregon too. But we don't really have a snapshot of what that long-term picture looks like.
Got it. And the last question is, what if a redwood or sequoia fall? I know those are giant trees, so what are the...
Yeah, well, first of all, hopefully it's not falling towards anybody's houses or structure like that because they're so tall, right? And so heavy. So, probably the best thing to do is just to let it fall, and, unless there's something you had planned for that tree, that's its fate. And it will eventually start decomposing. And, just like when trees fall here, it will start to recycle the nutrients and all of that. And so you can just let it go and kind of watch it rot and do its thing. And if you have the space for it, or you might have someone come and you might want to chop it up. These could be very large diameter trees, so you better have a big bar on your chainsaw. But other than that, just let it do its thing.
Okay, I guess just not let my house be too close to those trees.
Right, if it's right. That's another good point. This is why you don't want these big creatures, trees in general, so close to your house.
Okay. If I want to know more about redwood or sequoia, what are some of the great resources I can get to?
Great question. So for those of you who like to listen to podcasts, Oregon State Extension has their very own podcast, and it is In the Woods, and it's hosted by our very own Lauren Grand. You can also look for our new publication, Growing Redwood and Giant Sequoia in Oregon, a resources guide for small woodland owners. And also, you can pick up this book pretty much anywhere you find your other books, Trees to Know in Oregon and Washington. This has been around for 75 years.